Well, we just continue to innovate, and it always starts with the athlete, right? And you always start with the question of what can help me be a better basketball player, right? So you start from that technological standpoint, and then you work from there.
How you doing, man? How you doing?
All right, man.
How's everything progressing as far as like the injury and everything? Are you training now?
It's progressing slowly. It's really really tests my patience. You know what I'm saying? There's never so much you can do. So I find myself relegated to riding the bike. You know what I mean? After the first few weeks, it's like, it's cool, you're getting a good workout, and then third, fourth, I need to do something else, man.
You want to play?
Yeah, I want to play, I want to run, I want to do something different, but you got to do what you got to do.
Let's talk a bit about the preludes. So the preludes were like a lot about your career, like defining moments, like some of the defining moments throughout your career. Are there any expectations for more that are coming a little down the line that highlight on some of your other moments?
Not necessarily, we've always been a little reluctant to do kind of a retro series. The reason why it made sense for this is because of the story that we're trying to tell, right? Everything leading up to the masterpiece shoe.
Right.
So to tell the story, it's important to kind of go back in history and document some of those moments, just because it leads into the story. But we've always been a little reluctant to do retro. We always kind of like, looking forward and innovating.
So talk to me about the Prelude pack. How involved? What personal contributions did you have, like with the Prelude pack?
Yeah. So what I try to do is I try to be responsible for the story of where we're going that year. What is the direction that we want to go? This year was the masterpiece and the muses that are all involved in that, things that have inspired me throughout my career, and even before that, as a kid, what inspired me, what I drew inspirations from. So when I sit down one night and I say, this is the story, and here are some of the muses and things that have inspired me. Now it's your guys' turn to turn this into a collection. And, I'm not a designer. I'm not a designer, but I do a pretty good job of framing up stories.
Can you talk about maybe like your 3 favorites and why those were your favorites?
It's tough to pick a favorite, because they're all symbolic of big moments in my career. So it's really hard to pick a favorite. I think the one that really turned the most heads in the room when I told them was the Misery shoe, my 2008 shoe. And I said I want the shoe that looked like just misery. I don't want it to be happy. I want it to be absolutely sad, like a vintage sad Picasso painting, And because it was symbolic of the moment when we lost to the Celtics.
Right.
So I think that story was the one that kind of turned the most heads a little bit, I think.
Okay. So let's talk about the Kobe 9. Nick Young wore it in the game. Yeah. Was that you?
I've always been really open about other guys wearing my shoes. I mean, I've never. I always kind of looked at it as, a sign of, we're doing something right, because the guys want to wear it. That means the shoe's comfortable. It's not necessarily about, you're wearing my shoes. It's more so like, hey, if you're wearing it, that means we must be doing something right.
Under Nike basketball, you have both KD and LeBron that are all like signature athletes. Is there any like kind of competition as far as the shoe wise? You're like, no, I can't.
No, I don't think so. It's. I think Nike does an incredible job of just listening to the voice of the athlete, and the athlete really determines the direction that their brand or their line goes down, and because of that, we're all different in personalities, right? And just philosophies as a whole. So the direction is going to be completely different, and I think because of that, you really don't see any direct competition, as it pertains to our lines. And I support LeBron stuff. I support KD stuff. When we're around, we always talk and kind of, share ideas and concepts, around each collection. So it's good.
That's what I was going to ask about sharing ideas. You guys kind of talk to each other, like, oh, this worked well for me. For like you, I noticed that you like the Lunar Lawn and Zoom mix versus like the Air Max. Like, what is it about that mix that you prefer as opposed to like an Air Max?
Well, I feel like it gave me more flexibility in terms of having the ability to innovate. I felt like if I started with the Air, it kind of restricted me in terms of where I wanted to go. Because of the Zoom, I have more ability to play around with the insoles. I have more ability to kind of play around with the general structure of the shoe, and also the aesthetic of the shoe. So that's why I've kind of been more of a Zoom guy.
A big part of the story is the artistic angle, is like these art pieces, like this master art piece. Can you talk a little bit about the art of basketball and like how you apply that to your signature line?
Well, because we're creating. This is in all facets of life. I mean, I think that's the genesis of this concept is that we all create in our own form of fashion. And basketball certainly is, something that's, you're creating a live work of art. Right. And sometimes you might create a masterpiece, sometimes you might create something that's just absolutely atrocious. But you can't take it back, right? So that's the ultimate art.
How do you feel about just the process of creating? Do you feel like it's better to create and then deal with the circumstances based on just creating?
Yeah, I enjoy the creation aspect of it. The journey is always much more enjoyable. Like now, the 9 is complete, and I'm already focused on completing the 10.
Don't go to the 10 yet. Don't go to the 10 yet. I got a question.
We're down to the 11 and the 12. So
that's good to know. That's good to know. Are there any artists in particular that you're inspired by?
Yeah, I mean, there's several artists. If we go back, if you look at some of the muses that I've drawn from with this particular project, this collection, you'll find Beethoven, you'll find Picasso, you'll find Michelangelo. You have artists as well as Beethoven and Michael Jackson. And, there's a lot of different areas that I've pulled from, and the flexibility. I mean, it just goes on and on and on.
You mentioned Michael Jackson. Are we gonna see some Michael Jackson 9s? Will we see a Michael Jackson?
You'll see a Michael Jackson inspired. You'll see a Muse masterpiece, MJ style. The important thing is just it's kind of like an homage to all these great minds that I've pulled inspiration from. It's getting towards the end of my career, and I think it's important for the kids nowadays when they look at the way I play and kind of the attention to detail, to understand where that comes from, and to do that, the only way to do that is to kind of pay homage to the muses that I've had in my life.
I was watching online, you had an interview with Russ, and in the interview, I don't know if you were supposed to say this, but you were like, yeah, Kobe 9 Low, we're working on something. Is there anything that you can talk to us about as far as the low top version of the Kobe 9?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously, low is something that I decided to do in 2009, which turned a lot of heads. Was met with a lot of uncertainty. It since has really latched on to the culture. So that's an area of the business that we're not going to go away from. I'll put it to you that way. Okay, well that's good to hear. And finally, let's talk about, since you said it, Kobe 10. Well, not since you said it, I had a question already. Kobe 10. Will the 10 be as dramatic a change as the Kobe 9? Like, this is the elite, tie, and it's inspired by the boxer boot, as you said, and it has the fly knit and the Lunarlon and the zoom, and it's a great package altogether. And it seems like, where do we go from there to the Kobe 10? Well, we just continue to innovate, and it always starts with the athlete, right? And you always start with the question of what can help me be a better basketball player. Right? So you start from that technological standpoint, and then you work from there. I have the story already framed up. I know what the story is going to be. The aesthetic of the shoe, I know what the aesthetic is going to be. The technology in the shoe is going to be absolutely crazy. But yeah, it's.
When we're listening, go ahead. The camera's on. You can go ahead.
We just continue to push it, right? I mean, that's what we do. We just continue to push it and push it and push it, and try to solve problems that athletes may encounter.
Now, as a Laker fan, I'm a Laker fan. Is there any idea when we'll see you back on the court?
It's really tough to say, man. These injuries are really weird. I've never had this kind of a fracture before, and you're almost at the mercy of the bones, because there's nothing that you can do to speed up that process. You almost just have to sit and just wait for the bones to heal, and go from there.
Okay, and finally, with your career and the shoes that you have with Nike, is there a particular moment or shoe that kind of stands out to you in your line so far? Is there like a moment or shoe that you really think of that that's a moment I always remember?
I think the first shoe that we designed together was the most special one, because that's when I first signed with Nike and we did the 2K4. And that one coming off of the inspiration of a great white shark. And me kind of using that as a muse. But on that project, we had Avar on the project, we had Tinker Hatfield on the project, Mark Parker was on the project. So you had all these minds in one room just jamming on ideas and concepts, and the 2K4 was just a revolutionary shoe. So I go back to the beginning.
I would definitely agree. I love the 2K4. I appreciate you, man.
Thank you.